So Africa has been subject to resource extraction for centuries, and Europe and North America have been largely the beneficiaries of this wealth. This large-scale extraction of natural resources has been on extremely unequal terms for Africa. So in the early imperial and colonial times, much of those resources were extracted violently as people faced the barrel of a gun. Since then, resources have been extracted and continue to be extracted under unfair terms. This is because Africa is indebted, and so it's possible to negotiate for access to resources on highly unequal terms by applying pressure around loans or bilateral grants. These are some of the ways in which African governments are pressurized to extract on terms which are not beneficial to them. What makes the resource extraction untenable is that people have carried the costs of these resources being extracted. What do I mean? People have lost their lands, people have lost their water and access to forests, people have become ill, and people have suffered violence as a result of this resource extraction. These costs have not been borne by those that consume those raw materials. So those raw materials are shipped across oceans to other parts of the world, and it is people there who enjoy the benefits of those resources. Certainly not the people that have carried the extractive costs in the global south. Now Africa is facing a new round of extraction. We're calling this green extractivism. And it's really to support the mineral and metal needs of the global north, traditionally Europe, North America, but obviously we have new players in this scenario, China, India, South Africa. These minerals and metals, again, are being extracted at scale, and a vast array and scale of minerals and metals are needed to support the transition. Now, it's really important that we understand these corporations that we're dealing with that are doing the resource extraction. Most of them are multinational or transnational companies. They are extremely large. They're behemoths, and they profiteer more than the GDP of most of the countries in which they operate, even those in the global north in Europe. And so we must understand the power that these corporations carry in their ability to apply pressure on governments all over the world. These corporations are headquartered, and it's often their countries that back them in their negotiations with poor and quite powerless countries in Africa. The sum effect of this is that more resources are leaving Africa than are being invested in Africa. So an extremely poor continent is actually subsidizing different parts of the world through the resources that travel outside of the region on these extremely unfavorable terms and linked to deep corruption on the part of corporations. The other dimension that needs to be addressed by countries in the global north that have benefited from resource extraction from the poorest countries in the world is really to think beyond just regulation of corporations, but to really think about the debt that is owed to the global south, and in this instance I'm talking about Africa, the debt of slavery, the debt of colonization, the debt of extractivism on terms that are deeply unequal, and now the climate debt